Well, hello everyone. How are you? With the market losses today, not enough money for a big coffee, so just having a small espresso here, as much as I can get today before I jump into these markets. The S&P lost 1.5%. The Nasdaq 1.7%. I'm looking at you Bitcoin with 13, 14%. If I see this right, it could be more than that, but we're trading at 63.5 right now. So a bit of a heavy day in the market, as we've been preparing somewhat and talking about it. Not that I like it, not that I wish it on anyone. These are just part of the normal evolution of the market. Now, with the close like we're having today in the S&P, with an Amazon that's down 8% in the after hours, with an Nvidia that's breaking, with multiple stocks already in pretty heavy third waves, the likes of Hood and Palantir and Exxon, and there's a lot of stocks there that have been severely pushing. But remember, a lot of these markets have topped in October. In October, around October 10th, it was the day when the market kind of stopped going higher. And if it did so, very iffy, with a lot of gaps, with a lot of false starts, with a big spread between what was happening in the after hours and exactly what was happening during the day, intraday. So, a lot of signals there. It tried to fool us a couple of times. But if you were able to hold a little bit into some of your hedges, or prepare somewhat by maybe reducing positioning, of course, if the main purpose, is to be long the markets, because 80% of the time the market goes long, then you do get hurt from a market that's selling off, especially on longer term holdings, maybe retirement accounts, things like that. But there is, ways to protect at least some of that. So instead of losing I don't even know, like a 2% a day, maybe you lose only a half of a percent, or maybe a little less, but at least you're taking some of the damage off. As when the market turns, then you were able to hopefully close those hedges in time, and then be long from a much lower levels, from a much lower basis, because you have been able to take money on the short side by hedging, and that lowers the cost basis, if that makes any sense. So, this is just a way to kind of look at this. Now, if you look at the S&P, we're basically, on the daily, we're basically cracking below the 40 RSI. 40 RSI, it's an important level. The moment you get below that one, things start to look a little bit more dangerous. Usually, you want the market to hold in here. Like, look, it hold back here, just a quick dip below 40 RSI, then in here it bounced. Um, so we'll see what they do tomorrow. But I mean, look at the volume that's been coming in. So this is not one of those, garden variety sell-offs. It seems to be a little bit more aggressive, especially that you're seeing now in a lot of stocks, things deteriorating. So that's the further confirmation. Then, I also look at this formation here on the daily, and you can see this kind of small double top, left shoulder. There could be that this market might try to attempt to bounce and just excite some people and just move over and create, almost like a right shoulder double top and a double shoulder formation in here before we actually begin the next major leg lower. So, there's a couple of ways in here that we could see this developing. Nonetheless, now being below the 50-day moving average, in such an aggressive manner, one kind of has to be careful. If we're looking at the VIX, that is at about 22. It's still nowhere near, high enough to call a capitulation in here. It's very tiny. So there is a lot more damage that could be done. It doesn't have to, but things could continue to move that way, and I would just be careful. I would not really trust it. See, again, the AAII came again today with a lot more bulls than bears. They've reduced a little bit, but still people are bullish, and we've talked about this 4 or 5 weeks ago, where this started to shift to people being bullish. as the market was probably trying to do this, and just kind of, oh my goodness, we're going to break higher and continue to go. And it was exactly the wrong time to be positioned on the bullish side with so many cracks underneath the surface. So hopefully we can learn from this and see how we can protect and how we can maybe participate into some of the things on the short, because see, everybody tells you on Twitter, on the TV, on subscriptions, people sell all kind of things telling you how to buy things, but there is very little talk about how to sell them. What's a proper sell formation? What's a proper hedging structure? How do you protect yourself? How do you take care of things when the market starts to turn? Because we all of us, we just need like a like some bad sell-offs, and with leverage or whatnot, we can all get wiped out. And it happened to me several times where I got stuck like a deer in the headlights. I'm like, what am I doing? Why is this so hard? So maybe we can talk a little bit more about about how to sell things when they're too high, how to maybe look at charts when they're too extended or when they start to turn, because I don't really like to sell necessarily as they're going up, but once they kind of make a little bit of a turn and there's signals there. It's hard. Shorting is very hard. It's one of the hardest things. It does help every once in a while, but the market has a tendency to snap so quickly that it's hard. So anyway, this is what's going on the daily here. I mean, on the Nasdaq, even a stronger sell-off, and it's been telling us this one and this one and this one as well. So now we have 3 days in a row on very high volume above average that the market continues. I think, by the way the structure looks, that this rising 200-day moving average, we're probably going to meet it. And I don't know if this will create some kind of a longer term top. If, like I said yesterday, maybe we can get some kind of a WXY in here. We'll see. We're nowhere near equality. If you look at Bitcoin, and we'll do that in a second, it's coming to that equality level that we were talking about a couple of days ago, between those sell-offs. So yeah, we could get bounces, but I would not get too excited about those. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how we closed. I have a hard time believing that we're gonna bottom on a Friday, tomorrow, and usually you don't really bottom on a Monday either. So if we do find some kind of a low, it might be next week. Who knows, by Tuesday, Wednesday. But that's just a guess from a little bit of experience and just kind of seeing how some of these things pan out. So let's take a look. At let's take a look at Bitcoin next and see. Before we do that, let me go. Here is Bitcoin. I mean, I'm on the weekly, so we might just well go ahead and talk about this. I was gonna look at the weekly on the S&P, which is coming back, dropping below 60 RSI. This is the sell signal. And it doesn't look like anything bad. Like if this market wants to drop 10%, there would be nothing, and it would be just kind of somewhere in this neighborhood, 6,500, maybe a bit lower, but it wouldn't be a lot. For the Nasdaq Composite, again a little bit more, but on the weekly, there's not a lot of damage. I mean, look at this big sell-off that we've had, last year in April. That was tough, and even this guy back here was pretty sharp. So anyway, let's take a look at Bitcoin and see where there is. I'm going to go first on the dailies, and it just didn't act right. It didn't act right, and it was easy to kind of get excited about it, kind of holding up here near 77. This is the largest candle that we're seeing on the daily. One could say, well, maybe it's a capitulation candle, maybe not. Maybe there's another one even bigger. Maybe we're gonna go sideways a little bit and then drop again. The wave structure here right now, it's a little bit irrelevant until we're finding a low. I mean, you could say 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 4 and 5. And maybe then we're done. It could be a 1 flat into 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 4 5, and then you're done. So you can't say that your count or whoever's count is the correct one, just because some of us want it to be the low. The market will show us, when it stopped going down. So I would not even bother, unless you want to do exercises again, and maybe you get tired of hearing me say this. Maybe you just want to exercise wave counts and fib projections and things like that. I'm kind of done wasting time doing all of that, because I know it really doesn't help and it doesn't matter. It just kind of creates a lot more work for me, for my mind. I just rather see how price reacts, look at the news, look at the feed of people's sentiment, kind of watch the dailies. But even more importantly, like I've said, you got to look at the weeklies. And the weeklies in here, yes, we are coming into that probable equality in here. So we can do this and see if it's matching. We got a little bit more, but it's, in terms of equality, we're coming into the neighborhood. So that would be, I don't even know, somewhere up here that you could say, well, maybe Bitcoin, is bound to find at least some kind of a temporary low. The problem is that if this is a wave one and that's a wave two and this is a third wave, it's too short. It's too short. By a standard counting procedure where wave three is the longest wave in a sequence, you could have a third wave that's smaller than wave one, but then wave five would have to be smaller than wave three. So that's that. Again, we can speculate all we want. A standard is that a wave three would be more, especially with volume and heavy sell-offs. So by that count, we're just kind of getting going in a larger third wave. Then you need a four and a five, and then you complete. So if it's going to be a five-wave structure of the highs, some of you might say, well, Chris, it's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, look at the size of this wave. Does this seem like a wave 5 to you? It doesn't seem like a wave 5 to me. So especially the way it drops and the way it looks. So it's either a wave C or a wave 3. If it's a wave C, it should complete somewhere near these levels, or maybe a bit lower. If it's a wave 3, I think we got further to go. So that's where I'm at with with kind of my Bitcoin thoughts in here. And until I start seeing some black bars, on the chart here on the weeklies, I'm not gonna get too excited. And look, we're in February 5th. How long do you think it's gonna take until you find a low in Bitcoin, especially not until it's actually worth paying attention to buy it? And buy it kind of as it's at the right time, because you can buy it and just be stuck with it going lower or sideways for months, where that money could be doing something else, even maybe gaining 3.5% in a money market account while you're waiting, or doing something else with it, right? But how long do you think it's going to take until we're going to find a low here, and it's going to be worth being bought? Show us a little bit of a turn, creating some kind of a structure at the low that it can tell you, well, I think we've bottomed. It could be 8 weeks. It could be 8 weeks. It could be 12 weeks before that happens. So you could be in early summer by the time you can actually say that you can start actually looking at Bitcoin and putting it back up with a little bit more power, and be confident in its progressing upwards. What would need to happen for Bitcoin to find a low here, and then over the next 2 weeks to do this and get up there and say, and I tell you, if that happens, it will be a sell for me, because that's not how you find a low. It would probably be some kind of a short squeeze or whatever, and that would be probably get short into, and then you're going to make a new low. So this just doesn't happen like that, okay? It's going to take some time. So I'm going to continue to come here every day and watch it and talk about it, and I hope Bitcoin proves me wrong and turns all of a sudden. but I can probably tell you with a lot of certainty that this is going to take weeks and weeks until we're going to turn around and be able to buy it with with some kind of a passion and conviction, I would say, right? So that's my story on Bitcoin. I don't even want to look at kind of how Ethereum is doing. It broke below that 61.8, so that's a mess. If you look at XRP, what are we even into the 61.8 of this entire decline? Maybe. So we'll watch it. There is a lot of room to go here as well, but again, no signs on the chart other than a pretty hefty decline overall. I'm going to quickly take a look at SOX, which let's go on the daily, take a look at semiconductors. Where are you? That's Bitcoin. So let's take a look at semiconductors just quickly. Yes, into the 50 days. So we'll see what happens here. There could be getting some bids. Gold and silver have been, holding somewhat, although silver, it's getting that reaction back into the 50. So we see this is a deep one. I was thinking a fourth wave. I'm still thinking that, but who knows? We'll see. There's not much to do right now in there. Yeah, no. Listen, I'm gonna leave it at that. I mean, I can quickly take a look at Nvidia and see kind of how that went today. It was fine. It did not sell off as much as I thought it would, but it's still kind of weak in here, and I'm looking at the signal here. That's a massive topping signal on the weekly time frame on such a failed breakout. So if it's a 1 and a 2, or even if it's an A and a B, we got further to go. We got Nvidia at 150, and I was going to write something on Substack about. I just got to kind of put my thoughts together about the importance of being patient with our trades, because if you do a good analysis and you trust what you're seeing, many times we will either forget about that, or something happens and we're too excited seeing some gains, and then you're taking them too early, or maybe even you get flushed out by a quick market move against you, and then that original position, that original study and analysis that you did on the market will continue to work fine, and it will prove to be right, but it's just going to happen a few weeks down the road, and then you come back and you look at the chart and say, God, if I had only had been patient with it and just let it work, I would have reaped a lot of the benefits. And this is what happens. Like I'm looking here at Nvidia, and I would love for it to I mean, obviously I don't, people that are long Nvidia, I don't want them to lose. I mean, I own the S&P, I own the Qs, that's Nvidia in there. So obviously, if I'm short, I'm kind of hedging, or I'm kind of a little bit against that. But I would like for this analysis to prove right, because I work on it and I'm looking at it, and I say, well, let me at least take advantage of it, and if that would be towards 150 or maybe even 135, I would have to kind of maybe definitely find a way to maybe take some profits along the way, or work a little bit more on that strategy where you're not you're basically following along the market, and not wait until every last moment to kind of get rid of everything, because shorting is hard, and they can squeeze you out. But again, you just want to see your work that you've done on a chart, being long or short, that it's paying out, at least to be near your targets, or somewhere close to, and see that it follows along. Like one of the stocks that I've had, I'm going to do a quick parenthesis here, as a short, was Exxon, and I'm seeing this move. I'm seeing the top. I'm seeing the failed move. I'm seeing the move onto the 50-day. I'm seeing the drop. I'm watching it. I'm waiting for a chance to sell. I'm selling into the 50-day. In here, I make a little bit of a profit. Then the market moves higher. and takes me out above this high, and then I lose track of it, and I'm going somewhere else, and I'm looking at different things, and then when I come back somehow and look at Axon, the Axon is right here, and it's everything I wanted, because it's a rounding top, it's a left shoulder, it's a right shoulder, it's below the moving averages, it's selling, it's got pressure, you're selling after it proves to you that it's going down, and then you miss a big trade. So, and there's plenty of examples like this, and from the short side, I have one in AAP on the long side where I took profits after 30%, and damn thing went up 300%, 400%, whatever it went up, the end of 2024 into 2025, that was. And I was like, what? And these are just things that happen in trading, and we're trying to learn from them, and hopefully avoid them next time, if we can, and try to hold on to our emotion, when a trade kind of goes into our favor, because that's also as hard as it is taking a loss sometimes. Is it's letting a position work and be in the money for longer. But it's a growing process. So anyway, thanks for watching. A bit of a longer video. Let me know what you think. This will be the last video of this week. I will be gone. I'll be down in St. Louis for the rest of the weekend, seeing my son out there, and then I will get back here on my station on Monday. So hopefully the market doesn't go too crazy tomorrow, but we'll see what happens there. Thanks for watching. You can find me on Discord. Links are below on Substack and Twitter, or here on YouTube if you want to comment. Thanks. Bye.